data. This is data, all these things on the right hand. Ooh, I've got a laser pointer. I had a laser pointer. Come back. Well, there's supposed to be a cute little laser pointer thing here, but obviously Apple failed. So, really? No, stop that. Okay, so these things over here on this side, all this list of random text, and I'll upload these to the internet later, and you can look at them. But basically, this is all the data that your camera actually saves in every photo you take. Whether you have a big, huge, nice camera, like those, massive, telephoto lens type cameras, or whether you have a little point and shoot. All of this data, what camera you have, what settings you use, what resolution you took it at, what processing you've done after the fact on it, if you photoshopped it, if you added things, if you've changed the resolution, if you've cropped it to make a perfectly normal photo look incriminating, all of that is automatically saved by your camera in the photo itself and saved by Photoshop and other photo editing tools. People don't realize that. Something kind of new that's happening is a lot of cameras come with GPS chips built in. And so they not only save all of that, but they actually save the location where you took the photo. And so you can see, it's really tiny, but it's a picture of one of my cats looking all dramatic and things. I was screwing around with the camera. It's cool, it's called The Ascent, right? And it has a cat tree, right? But it doesn't look like a cat tree because it's all very dark and misty. And that's saved too. So this is kind of interesting now. So now, people who zoom in on this map, if I didn't realize that my camera could do this, I'd be really frightened because that's my house. My address isn't public. But now, because I use Flickr and because I have a smart camera, all of a sudden, my address is public. It's available on the web if you know where to look. And soon, of course, as with all things in the last several years, if you know where to look, it's replaced by Google. And once Google starts to index this sort of data, you'll be able to say, what's Brendan's house address? And it'll say, here. And this is to a precision of about 10 centimeters. So it's very, very accurate. This is getting added in more and more cameras all the time. Right now it's only in kind of high-end cameras, and actually this camera doesn't do it. I actually chose to put this address in, but more and more cameras are doing it, especially the kind of smaller, cute point-and-shoot, quote-unquote, cameras that don't have the big lenses. Those tend to have more GPS chips. Or they'll acquire the data automatically from talking to your iPhone or just hanging out with your laptop and things.
Brendan, why
Yes.
do they put GPS chips in cars?
Because people want to be able to say, for instance, I was driving through Yellowstone National Park, right? Yellowstone National Park is millions of square miles. It's incredibly huge, bigger than most of the United States, or bigger than most states in the United States. So taking a picture in one area of it is very different than taking a picture in another. And people want to say, where is that beautiful waterfall? Or where is that particular geyser? It's incredibly geoactive and it's going to blow the whole state to smithereens one of these days. But nonetheless, so that's why there are GPS chips in there. This is called geotagging. That is adding geolocation data to something else that isn't inherently a geo thing. And so that's why they're in there. And people want to do this. Like I said, I added this to the map myself, and this is a feature built into all photo networks now. The XF data is there for kind of a variety of reasons. One, so that you can remember things like, what setting was that? If you got a particularly cool effect, you want to remember what settings there were. So now we're going to go into what's location-based social network. That is, the topic that theoretically brought you all here, as opposed to just, mandatory or you'll be expelled, blah, blah, blah things. So this is one location-based social network. So when I got here, I actually created the United World College on this one social network, which is called Foursquare. And I checked in. And checking in just means I upload my location to the web, and people can see, aha, Brendan has arrived in New Mexico. And Foursquare actually has a concept of mayors, which is whoever has checked in the most to a particular location. So right now, if you go on Foursquare and search for the United World College USA, I am the mayor, which Lisa might have a few issues with.
Take over.
So this is one location network, and there are actually quite a few of these. The two biggest are called Foursquare and Gowalla, but there are literally hundreds currently battling it out. And this is an interesting concept in each thing. And some, things, for instance, it's one thing for the UWC where obviously, this is not a place of business and not everybody can come here. But for instance, people have been doing these promotions where if you're the mayor of a pizza joint, for instance, they might give you a free soda when you come in to the mayor, because you can show you're the mayor because it says, when you hold up your phone, I'm the mayor, right? And they do this because this attracts repeat business, right? This is one brilliant way to have customer retention, is, hey, if you come in more, you might become the mayor, and then I'll give you free stuff, which gets you, in the meantime, to come in a lot more, because you can only check in once per day into one location. So becoming a mayor can take a lot of time for very popular areas. For instance, I just became the mayor and then lost it again of the bus I take to work every day, which is annoying because I'm trying for a special badge, and there are various achievements and things you can get on this. But the concept of location is very important to this here. So there are actually a whole variety of the location-based social networks, like Gowalla, for instance, and Twitter. We've talked about Twitter before, but more recently, Twitter has added the ability to, every time I tweet from my phone, it says exactly where I am, which is one thing for when I'm in public areas. People know where the UWC is. It's the only thing in this part of New Mexico. But it's a very different thing when I tweet from your house. And we'll talk about this kind of, the idea of having a location itself having a private nature in a few minutes. There's Brightkite, which used to be very popular and is about to go bankrupt, which is the way it works. There's Block Chalk, which is interesting. You kind of could in a few areas when I was here, maybe this is stopped now, about people chalking the sidewalks, like writing messages and ads and things for whatever meetup on the sidewalk. Does this still happen? Yes, no, not really, okay. But the idea is that basically, like kids playing on the ground with sidewalk chalk would like say lemonade stand here. This block chalk allows you to geotag a note and just write it in the web. And so when people go to that location, they'll see pop up on their phone, hey, so-and-so wrote, lemonade stand just down the block is really good, or is really bad. The idea is it's just literally like writing chalk on your block, hence block chalk. There's things like Foursquare, which I've already talked about. It's just another location social network like Gowalla, that's all they do. And there's also things like Google Latitude, which a few of you might have heard of before, which is Google's answer to a lot of these things. Google Latitude is more interesting because the phones that support it, which is things that are basically not iPhones, check in automatically. So that is, when I check into Foursquare, as I did before, I actually say, I want to reveal my location now, and then it does it. Whereas Latitude, it continuously updates. Your phone just contacts the cloud, contacts the internets, and says, Brendan is here. So at any time I can go online and have a map of where all my friends are, which is very cool, even if they didn't remember to use Foursquare. Whereas Foursquare, therefore, is volitional. Foursquare requires an actual action. Google Latitude does not. This leads, unfortunately, to some interesting privacy concerns, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I thought it was on this slide, but we'll move to that slide, obviously. Oh, I know where it is, in about 3 slides. So, okay, it's a cool joke. We'll get there in a minute. So we're first of all going to talk about, user scale limitation. So that is that, what if I have, 10 million of my closest friends on using these things? So like, that is, they're not just tracking me, it's everybody in the whole city in which I live, or everybody in the country, or now everybody in the world. Foursquare with 400 million members, if they added geolocation things and people, and because your laptop can do this too, you don't have to have a GPS chip to do it. People started, every time you come to the IT center, everyone automatically checked into the IT center. Well, then we have something like this, and I have inserted a cool video. A few of you guys saw this last night, but I'm going to play it again for those of you who didn't. It's only 2 minutes long, you won't suffer too badly. I'm sorry, I couldn't embed it in Keynote because it's the one thing the iPad doesn't seem to be able to do. Come on, do it.
I think you lost the connection with
No, I
your
didn't.
cord.
It's just reconnecting because of the way there we go. Cool. Okay. So what this is, I've talked about Foursquare and Brightkite and Gowalla. This is a visualization of everyone checking in during the South by Southwest Interactive Festival, which happened just a month ago in Austin, Texas. This is essentially Nerd Spring Break, often referred to that. There are big games of drunken kickball in the mornings and things. And you can see all of these people checking in with their locations, and these are only volitional ones. These are only people, they pulled out their iPhones and checked, and you can see there's an insane number of them. And there are block chalks, you can see black dots, and there are purple dots from people uploading Flickr photos. And at one point you'll see a big splash of purple all at once. And you can see as the time goes on, it's now 2 o'clock in the morning, it starts to slow down. It gets slower and slower, and now they start to go up. And the jogging nerds start to go running and things, and so people start to check in again. You see there's this one thing way off down here in the lower right-hand corner. That actually is the airport, as it turns out, which is so that's, as soon as people arrive in Texas, they go, I'm at an airport. Amazing. And you'll see streaks, too, which is something that computers are bad at, but humans are very good. So you'll see streaks shooting off to the left, which is people going hiking, or streaks shooting in from the lower right, which is people coming in from the airport, and every time their cab drops a different passenger off, they'll check in at whatever hotel that was. So you'll see this whole line. Now at this point, all this data was anonymized, or most of this data was anonymized. That is, that we don't know who these people are. But it turns out that if you see someone check in there at the airport, and they streak in, and then they get to the conference, and then they tweet, that is, that they use the Twitter social network, all of a sudden, you realize that, like, oh, now I can figure out that this was this person, because they checked in here, checked in all these places, and then tweeted. And since they checked in before tweeting, I know that this was the same person who just checked in. Obviously, this is running faster than real time. It's amazing what this this little binary bit of data. I'm here. turns into. We can see all these visualizations about what the most popular venues were at the conference, or what are the kind of odd things. Or actually on this night, I believe it won't slow down because there was a really good party that my committee threw.